Welcome to the third video related to my mining farm router project. In the previous two videos, I described how I configured Raspberry Pi to act as an internet gateway for my mining farm. I showed how I configured LTE modem on Raspberry Pi. Then I showed how I configured OpenVPN to have access through the internet. Later I showed how I configured backup communication channel with the use of SMS text messages in case of main internet connection is broken. I'm still able to connect to Raspberry Pi and to restart services or even run any command through the SMS. And finally, in the second video I showed how I used Raspberry Pi GPU port to remotely restart, shut down or start the mining rig just by using command line, and I can do it remotely through the internet. In this video, however, we will talk about the monitoring. So as a software for monitoring I chose Zabbix, mainly because it is open source software, but as they advertise themselves, this is the ultimate enterprise class monitoring platform. And actually it can be used not only for enterprises, but it is also a perfect solution for home usage. And in this video I'll try to explain why. So let's go. So Zabbix, in my opinion, is not only the perfect software to use for enterprise class level monitoring, but I think it is very useful software if you want to monitor some private servers. There are a couple of points why I think so. The first one, it is very easy to install it. For example, comparing to Nagios, which is very flexible, but the learning curve is very steep. And Zabbix you can install just by following the documentation. Actually, this is how I did it. If you go to the documentation, there is description of the installation steps, and you can go one by one through these steps to install Zabbix. If you have Debian, for example, I use Raspbian. It is available as a deb package, so you can just run apt-get and it will be installed. Of course, it requires database, MySQL database to run, and Apache server with PHP plugin. But all these dependencies will be installed automatically. So this is all you need to install Zabbix, and later you need to configure it. And out of the box it is already very flexible. It has a lot of templates and you don't need to bother about some fancy plugins or extensions as you probably need to do with Nagios. Here actually you have ready to use software just out of the box, and let's see how I did it in my case. In this video I'm not going to describe in details how I installed it and how I configured every single item, trigger, and so on. I just want to show on one example how useful it could be, and maybe encourage you to spend some time and to learn this tool, to implement it for your use. So let's start with the dashboard. This is the dashboard of Zabbix, the full dashboard, and actually I don't need more. All the basic information are available here. We can see that I have two hosts available. One is my mining rig, the second one is Zabbix server itself. So two hosts are being monitored. Then we have overall 163 items that are being monitored. Each item is a parameter of the system, like temperature, like voltage, like ping time, and so on, that is being monitored by Zabbix. In case Zabbix detects some problem, it can raise an alarm. speaking about triggers and alarms, I have 106 triggers up and running, monitoring my system. So then we have the system status. I have two host groups, Zabbix servers and miners. There is no problems here. And I also have host status. Okay, but this is just a dashboard. This is just overall information. Later I will show you how it could be useful in case some problem occur. But now let's go to the latest data and see what data is being monitored. So these are all the items that are being monitored. And as you can see, there are a couple of groups here. So the most important for me, as it is a mining farm, is the GPU parameters. So I have all the temperatures and all the fan speeds, actual fan speeds for all the GPUs. So this data is refreshed every 8-10 seconds. I'll show you later how to configure it. And what I really like about Zabbix, if I want to compare or have visual representation over time for some parameters, I can just select these parameters. For example, I want to compare the parameters for 3 GPUs, and I click display graph, and I have visual representation of these parameters over the time. The spaces here are normal because it means that there was no reading within these time frames, but this is really detailed time frame. Let's expand it a little bit. Okay, now we see it. So as you can see, the temperatures are within the defined values, and the target temperature that I set is 51 degrees Celsius. So we can see that it is really around this value. Let's see at the details here. So we have temperature last 51, minimum 40 degrees. Oh, where is 40 degrees? I don't see it on the graph. Maybe it is overall history. So average is 50.66, max was 54. But yes, 54, it's probably here. And I don't see on this graph 40 degrees really. Okay, but here we have the same for GPU 1, 38, here 38, but average, what is most important, average is 50.68, 50.68, 50.66. Yes, it should be overall, because I see 70 degrees. These were some of my tests that I will show you also today. So yes, it is minimum and maximum temperature overall ever detected by Zabbix. And as you can see, the speed of the fans could vary, and it adjusts automatically depending on the temperature of the air and so on. So simply some of my additional scripts are controlling the fans so that the temperature of GPU is maintained in the same level. Okay, so these are the temperatures, but now let's go and see how the items are configured. So I will not go through all items. I will focus just on a couple of examples just to show you how easily it could be done and how easily you can achieve such graphs like this. So let's go to the configuration, and we have a couple of tabs here. So let's start with hosts. Hosts are main configuration entities that you can configure and you have to configure. So I have two hosts. Raspberry Pi, this is actually the router, and Miner01, and this is my one and only mining rig that I have monitored. So now for this mining rig, actually let's click on it. We see all the parameters of it. The main one is IP address, the name, and what's more important, there are templates assigned to this mining rig. So there are two templates here. miner template and network template, and each template defines the set of parameters that are being configured. So of course I can actually define items just for this host, but they will be only for this host, and when I want to define new mining rig, I will have to redefine the same item for the new mining rig. And actually this is the mistake that I did at the beginning. I defined a lot of parameters assigned just for particular hosts, but when I thought how I configure it for the second mining rig, it was a problem, and then I realized that I have to use templates. So actually all these items, as you can see, are defined in the template. So there is miner template, there is template app Zabbix agent, template OS Linux, and so on. Okay, so we'll get back to the templates in a minute. And we have triggers, and the same for triggers. Triggers are also defined in the templates. So template is something that you can assign to different hosts if you want the same parameters to be monitored on those hosts. And of course you can define the graphs, similar to what I just showed a minute ago. Okay, so let's go to the templates. So there are plenty of templates here. Most of them are default templates that you will get right out of the box. I defined just those through 3 templates: miner template, and router, and network monitor. The most important for us, I believe, is this one, the miner template. So let's go directly to the items, and we have 66 items here. And let's have a look at GPU temperature item. So I would like to show you on this example how I configured it. So GPU 0 temp, or let's take GPU 2 temp. Actually they are defined exactly the same, the numbers just different. So let's click on it. So we have the name, we have type, so it is Zabbix agent. It means that Zabbix agent on the server to which assigned this template will be queried for this value, gpu.2.temp. And later we just have the parameters of this item, like if it is numeric, what is the data type, what are the units, and so on. Maybe the most important is the interval, which is 8 seconds, and application is just the grouping that you can use during the search or for rolling up and down the items on the list. So it is assigned to GPU application. Okay, and actually that's it. But how this value is got? To understand this, we need to go to the command line, to the configuration of Zabbix agent on this server. So I'm already logged in, and there is file called etc Zabbix agent conf.d user parameter GPU mon.conf. Actually, in this directory we can define multiple files, and in these files we can define our user parameters. So if I edit this file, we can see that there are multiple user parameters defined here, and particularly gpu.2.temp. And this parameter, actually, whenever it is called, Zabbix agent is executing this command line. So let's copy this command line and let's paste it here and try to run. So 52, it means that GPU temperature for GPU number 2 is 52. How this value is got? Actually, this is my custom function that is getting this value, but it is using some standard tool. I'll show you in a minute. So first, as you can see, I'm including this script. So let's have a quick look at the script. So these are my custom functions, and let's search for get GPU temp function. Here it is. So this is just the check, we are not interested in it, but it is calling another function, get GPU param, with this parameter. So parameter number 1 is actually what is passed to this function, and parameter number 2 is temperature GPU. So let's search for this function. So this is not definition. Yes, here it is. So after all the checks, the main line is here. As you can see, I'm using Nvidia SMI because I'm using Nvidia graphic cards with some command lines. So let's copy paste it. Let's copy it. And first, let's run just this tool, Nvidia SMI. Let's maybe zoom out to see everything. So it printed out all the basic parameters of each GPU, like temperature, like fan speed, like power consumption, memory usage. So this tool can have access to all of these parameters, and if you want to get just one of these parameters, like I need just some particular value, like for example this value for GPU number 5, let's copy paste the command. So we just need to replace the variables. GPU number 5, I'm sorry, query GPU, so it should be the value that we want to query. It should be temperature GPU, and GPU ID should be 5. So also the format that we are expecting is CSV. I don't need headers. It is 51. Okay, great. But you say how to check what parameters are available and how to use this tool. It's actually simple as everything in Linux. Just can run Nvidia SMI -- help, and you have all the required information here. So a lot of reading, and actually you can get everything from this tool. Okay, so now let's get back to Zabbix. Let's try to make a small disaster. Let's see what happens, because if I'm showing you that everything is okay, actually it's not interesting. So let's make a small disaster. For this we can edit our file, configuration file, and I'll comment out this line for GPU number 2, and I will comment out this line. So instead of calling GPU temp function, I'll just return 70. So in the next query, Zabbix will think that GPU temperature is actually 70. So let's save the file. Let's restart Zabbix agent, otherwise the change will not be applied. Sorry, wrong command. Okay, Zabbix agent is restarted. We can wait here, or we can refresh. Oh yes, the problem is already detected, and 2 issues actually are triggered. Why 2 issues? Why not 1? Because actually the first issue is the temperature is increased, so the temperature is higher than some first threshold, and the second problem is that the temperature is critical, so it also exceeded the second threshold. And actually I'm not seeing any actions here. Why? Oh yes, they appeared, and both already succeeded. So for the first problem, there is just one action, and the email was sent to admin, to user admin, and for the disaster problem, 2 actions. The email was sent and SMS message was sent. So how it is configured? For this, let's go to the triggers. So let's go to configuration, template, triggers. And let's search for GPU to temperature trigger. As you can see, I have 2 triggers for GPU number 2, temperature increased and temperature critical, and actually you see the definition here. So if the temperature is higher than GPU temp high, this trigger will be triggered and the problem level will be warning. For this one, if GPU temp is higher than GPU temp critical, then we have a disaster problem. But where these values are defined, actually those values are defined in the template in macros. So here we have temperature high is 57 degrees and critical temperature is 62 degrees. So actually when you play games, this GPU temperature is even low. Temperatures like 68 or 70 degrees are actually normal temperatures, but we are talking about mining. This graphic card is working 24/7, so I thought that it would be a little bit too high, and I am expecting to have less temperatures. So if you think that graphic cards that were working 24/7 in the mining rig are actually crap, no, I think they could be in a better condition than graphic cards that you buy from gamers. And this is why, because miners are tuning their graphic cards and they are not used full 100%. Now, of course, if the miner knows what he is doing. Okay, but let's get back to the triggers. So we have 2 values and triggers were triggered because the value is exceeded it, but where are the actions? So the actions are defined here, and actually I have 2 actions. This action notify admins coming out of the box with the Zabbix installation. So whenever any trigger is triggered, so we can see here is the condition. Maintenance status is not in maintenance, so system is not in maintenance and the trigger is problem. Then Zabbix will send message to user groups, actually Zabbix administrators, via all media. What does it mean? Let's have a look at this definition. So this is the body of the message that will be sent. These are the conditions that I just showed. And this is the action that will be triggered. And what does it mean that information will be sent via all media? If we go to the administration and users, we have users defined here. And let's click on admin. And for each user we have this tab called media. And as you can see here, there are 2 media communication channels. I defined 1 email communication channel and 1 SMS communication channel. And for email communication channel, I defined that I want to receive mails actually at every time, and it will be sent for any level of the problem. So if it is not classified, if it is information, warning, average problem, high or disaster, the email will be sent, because I'm not paying for each and every email. It is okay to be sent, but I don't want to be spammed about information or warnings to my mobile phone, and every text message is paid separately. So I just wanted to be informed only about average, high and disaster problems. And this is how it is configured. So of course I can edit it and I can disable on different levels, but I don't want to do it. Or I can disable the communication channel at all. Okay, but now getting back to actions. As you noticed, I also have stop mining action, and actually I defined it for test just for GPU 0 because I don't want such actions to be done automatically, but somebody can want to do it. So let's have the definition. So it's just the message, and if trigger name like GPU 0, temperature critical, so if this triggered happened, it means that I want to disable mining immediately because something really wrong happened. And in this case, I want to run remote command on miner01 immediately. And as you can see, I just have some random command echo agg to some temp file. I just was testing if it is working, and yes, it is working. Okay, but let's get back to our dashboard. We have still the problem not solved. Of course, in this case, I'll just go back to the configuration file and remove the temporary definition, restarting the Zabbix agent, and the problem will be solved. Okay, here it is. Okay, so I think that's all that I wanted to show you in this video. Actually, I believe it's like 5% or even less of what Zabbix actually can do. You can use it for really different things, and it is really easy to configure, as I just showed on this example. Actually, Zabbix can also parse web pages, it can connect to web services and so on. So for example, you can define some monitoring for the cryptocurrency exchanges. You can define even some bots, because depending on the sell buy value, you can define some actions, and it can connect to some APIs. Of course, probably some basic programming skills are required for this. If you have them, and if you never heard about Zabbix, I think this is a very nice tool that you can use for different cases. Only the imagination could be the limit here. By the way, Zabbix is not paying me. I just discovered this tool for myself recently, and I decided to use it because I thought that I would not find any better tool for this use case. Okay, so if you have any questions about how to configure Zabbix, or how I did this and that, you can leave a comment. I'll try to answer it. And see you next time in the last video, where I describe how I configured multiple Nvidia cards under the Linux. Okay, thank you very much. I hope this video was useful for you, and don't forget to like this video, to share this video, and to leave a comment. Thanks, and see you next time. Bye bye.